Great morning, great morning, great morning. It is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the It's About You radio show here from WDRBmedia.com, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maurice McDonald, the host of It's About You, each and every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have the privilege and honor and the prestige of having this space, this platform, to share the energy, to share the love, of the show designed to get into your heart through your ears and through your legs to get you to be the very best person you can possibly be and get the barriers out of your life, get the stumbling blocks out of your life each and every day. I want you to know every time I do a show, I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to myself. Oftentimes, when I get my inspiration, I had someone ask me, where do you get your inspiration? I get my inspiration many times from God, ladies and gentlemen. I can be some place and driving or thinking and something will come straight to me or having a conversation with someone. And I decided, let's talk about it because that's what this show is about. It is about you and let's talk about it. And because it's 8 o'clock in the morning, I know there are people who are getting out of the shower, having breakfast, you're at work, you're driving or whatever, wherever you are or listening to this information each and every Tuesday morning. I do not take it for granted. I do not take it lightly. I call this a true honor, as I said before, and privilege to have this platform. And of course, because it's 8 o'clock, I always start off with our morning quote of the day, the morning motivational quote of the day to get your day going. Today is coming from the great Og Mandino. And if you don't know who Og Mandino is, he's written several great books, talking about the greatest salesman in the world and on down the line. Just look up Og Mandino. OG is his first name there, and Mandingo. So therefore, the quote today I want to share with you, he says, failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. Let me say that one more time. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. There's many times that we're going to fail. So let's start off with that. The first thing he said, failure will never overtake me. So he's letting you know that you're going to fail. Yes, that's how we learn. How did you learn to ride the bicycle? When without the training wheels, you fell off a couple times, but you got back on and you learned to pedal and you learned to make it. So failure is part of the process and it will never overtake you, he says, if my determination to succeed is strong enough. So that's the second part to this. It won't overtake you. How many times do you allow failure to overtake you? You think you're supposed to succeed every time. No, you continue, and you get back up again. And it won't overtake you when your determination to succeed is strong enough. And because it's strong enough, you will then have victory. You will then overtake. You will then change lives. You will then come up with witty inventions. You will then have great success. And so that is your morning motivational quote of the day by Og Mandino. Failure will never overtake you if my determination to succeed is strong enough. And that's brought to you by MauriceMcDonald.net. Go to MauriceMcDonald.net and learn all about the amazing gut microbiome because all disease begins in the gut, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. If you've been listening for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been doing a series on You Belong. You belong. And today we're going to close it out. The idea of you belong. I believe we're going to close it out. It's a possibility. There may be another one coming, but I want to talk today a little bit further and talk about 12 reasons why a person can believe they truly belong. And today I want to go in depth a little about history and people who've overcome some things and people who have shown they belong through all the obstacles. And so letting you know a little recap, we had some amazing guests here talking about You Belong and what they began to share with. And we had Bishop Tony Hall was here talking about You Belong, and also I kicked it off initially, starting it on, and we also then I have had the amazing Bishop Hassan Lee. He's also, man, I've been connected to two ministers, and I'm gonna tell you what, they are powerful men of God, but they're also just great human beings as well. And I love the fact that they come on the show and share some information. And I look forward to every time I ask them, they come. But today I want to start off with, first of all, you exist for a reason. If you're listening to me right now on the sound of my voice, you exist for a reason. You know, I know I said last week, I said that you come into the world a winner. Everybody that's born came in a winner simply because you went through over 50,000 sperm cells and you found the egg. Yes, the others did not. So when you come into the world a winner, and oftentimes we listen to other people who got their little 2 cents to tell you and to convince you. Their job is to convince you that you don't belong. When you came in a winner, so you exist for a reason. Your presence is not accidental. The fact that you're here means your life has value and purpose. Your life has value and purpose. So you came in this world a total winner. And with that said, your existence has reason. Your existence has merit. And that's the part you cannot forget this. And I want you to think about the stories in the Bible. Joseph in Genesis, 37 through 50. Rejection by his brothers and sold into slavery. Joseph was treated as a disposable person. Yet God used his faithfulness to elevate him to leadership in Egypt, saving nations, including the very family that rejected him. See, oftentimes you have to go back and look. History is full of people who somebody told you you didn't fit, that you didn't belong, that you have no purpose. Your existence is just an accident. So I'm here to tell you today, if you hope you can feel my passion this morning, that you got to know that you know when you stand 10 toes down and look in the mirror, that you're looking at a winner and you're looking at somebody that exists for a reason. Now, you may not know the reason. You may not know the purpose. You may not know it yet. And that's okay not to know it, but you got to seek to find it. Put yourself around positive people. That's the first thing you got to do. Stop hanging with negative Nancy and negative Ned. They got one thing in life, is to bring everybody down. Listen, you can have wood to start a fire, but if that wood is wet, oh no, ice on that wood, no, that's not going to burn. So you're hanging around people with icy wood. You're hanging around people with no matches to start the fire. And they have no idea how to make it. So I'm telling you to get around the positive people to help you find out the reason you exist. Put yourself in positions so that you can also understand that part. Also, the second point I want to talk about, your story matters. Yes, your story matters. You see, there's history and herstory, okay? We all got a story. History, his story. Everybody has a story. There's a hero and sheroes. There are stories to be told, so your story matters. Everything you've experienced, the joy, the pain, the growth, adds depth to who you are and contributes something no one else can offer. So just like your fingerprints, ladies and gentlemen, my years in law enforcement, fingerprints as a detective, we would always run fingerprints. You got to break in, you got prints, you run those prints, and sometimes you come up with a hit who they belong to, and the person never went to the house before and they broke in. Their prints are inside on the kitchen sink, or their fingerprints are inside, places it shouldn't be. That was some evidence we use. because everybody's fingerprints. See, the Creator gave everybody fingerprints that are different, which is lets you know immediately that God wanted you to be different, that you mattered, that your story matters. And like, as I said, every experience, the joy, the pain, and the growth. You see, all of that. And by the way, growth is painful. Oh yeah, ask any bodybuilder, ask any weightlifter. When you're lifting more, you start to lift some more heavier weight. Lift 5 pounds more. Lift 2 pounds more than you used to. You feel it. The muscles feel it. But look what happens at the end when you're trying to exercise and you're walking. You weren't walking before. There's a little pain when you first start. But guess what? You continue. There's growth. Stop quitting the moment you get some pain. Growth, your success is part of the process. The pain is part of the process. So stop looking just for the joy and getting growth, because there is no growth without some sacrifice. There's going to be some pain in there. So every experience that you have, the joy, the pain, the growth, it basically says it adds depth to who you are and contributes something no one else can offer. You were created for a purpose. You were created for greatness. And the moment you realize it and walk in it, start to walk in that thing. Walk in that thing like it was, like it was the only thing that mattered. And that part, being knowing that you were created for purpose. And then also going back to the Bible, Moses, Exodus 2 and 4 talks about, a Hebrew raised in Pharaoh's household. Moses belonged fully to neither Egyptians nor Israelites, despite his insecurity and speech difficulties. God chose him to deliver Israel from bondage. He belonged. He was a stutterer. He did. Now you know how people will laugh at people who have a speech impediment. How people who are well educated, but they may have a speech impediment, but people start thinking they're not smart because they judge that thing, okay? They judge what happened. But understand, when you have a story that matters, and we all know Moses' stories really mattered. That matters. So you got to understand that you matter. That is so powerful. That is important to know. Because how many people feel so downtrodden? They feel so defeated because they feel like they don't matter. When I'm here to tell you that your story matters, you belong, and you matter, and you go through that thing, but seriously, and you don't quit, you don't make excuses, and you go through and cry if you must. Yes, cry if you must. That is okay. But you matter. That part, growing up. Also, outside of the Bible, let's take Oprah Winfrey, for example. From abuse to influence. Growing up in poverty and abuse, Oprah was repeatedly told she didn't fit in the media image. You're fat, your hair, your lips are too big. But yet she became one of the most influential voices in the world, redefining representation and belonging. Absolutely. I think about people who didn't belong. The motivational speaker and powerful woman, Miss Lisa Nichols. If you don't know who she is, go to YouTube, look up Lisa Nichols. How she went from homeless and single mom and South Central LA to be a voice to the whole world now, overcoming all kind of obstacles. And her child, she ran out of diapers, so broken she used newspaper as a diaper for her baby, and she said no more. His name, I think she said his name was Mulani. I think that's his name, but she talked about it. No more on my watch. She said, we won't be this broke again. But they told her she didn't fit. As a matter of fact, they told her she was the worst writer. Her English teacher told her, you don't ever try to write again. You're the worst writer I've ever had. She's authored several books now. And she found out that she was dyslexic. So that was part of the issue that she had. But her story, Lisa Nichols is her name, but there are so many people that have overcome the idea that I don't belong, and so you have been listening to that foolishness as well, some of you, or somebody who's been listening to that foolishness. And I'm here to tell you on this Tuesday morning on the It's About You radio show, WDR Media, that you do belong and you got to fit. You get in where you fit in unapologetically, no more excuses. As I said, that you exist for a reason. And the second point I said is your story matters. The moment you realize that your story matters and that you exist for a reason, you now have the seeds planted in the ground. But there's much more you got to do. Plant the seed in good soil into your spirit, into your mindset, into your psyche, unapologetically, and know that is important. Then this brings me to my third point. You bring a unique perspective. As I said before, the fingerprints are designed individually. No two individuals have the same fingerprints. And isn't that a great design by the Creator? And you bring a unique perspective. Your thoughts, your insight, and the ways of seeing the world are shaped by your experience and cannot be replicated. Listen, so you are the original. Oftentimes people want to follow somebody. And basketball, who's going to be the next Jordan? Who's going to be the next LeBron? Who's going to be the next Tiger Woods? Who's going to be the next Serena? No. You are the original. You are an original. And you got to realize that your unique perspective cannot be duplicated. It's not something that you replicate. Now, it is important when they say when somebody tried to replicate you, that is a great form of a compliment, was when somebody wants to be like you. But they can't walk in your shoes. They can't lace them up the way you lace them up. They can't think like you have. They don't have the work ethic you may have. They don't have the technique you may use. So there's so many things that know that you bring a unique perspective to everything that you do. And that is so valuable, so important for us to understand, because this process of belonging is, to me, one of the greatest foundation why so many people can be successful, because they did believe they belonged. Even though others told them, they didn't walk like the other successful people. They didn't talk like the other successful people. They didn't dress like the other successful people. However, they made their mess their message. Oftentimes, we feel like we don't fit in. We don't make it. We don't belong because I'm messy. My life is messed up. Somebody says I'm in recovery. I'm an alcoholic. I was homeless. I was molested as a child. I was, not as smart as everybody else. I mean, all those things in the natural that will make you think why you don't make it, why you're not successful. But yet, if you take the mess and make it your message, because look, you talk about the comeback. Oh, yeah, the comeback. People who've come back from all kinds of things, and when others thought they wouldn't make it, they became a unique person, a unique perspective. Their story mattered. They exist for a reason. You think about these, if we're planting right now, every point I'm going to give you, everything I'm sharing with you right now, if you plant this in good soil, not on concrete, because planting a seed on concrete is not going to work. But if you're planting in good soil that you've cultivated, in this good rich soil, and you put good seed in, and you water it and get proper sunlight, you cannot stop the growth unless you intentionally destroy it. The growth process is painful. It takes a while. It's not overnight. So I'm not telling you overnight to something you're going to be overnight success. No, it's growing. It takes time. But it starts with that belief system between the ears that, number one, you exist for a reason. Number two, your story matters. Number three, you bring a unique perspective through your experience. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it together. That's part of the process. That is part of the process. And then it goes to my fourth point. Because you have something to give. You have a gift to the world. You've got something to give, whether it's kindness, wisdom, humor, leadership, empathy. Your contribution, or you contribute in ways that matter to other people, because somebody needs your word today. There are somebody who's listening to me. You're a great artist. You have the ability to paint, to draw. You have all of the great qualities. You have a powerful voice. You're a great chef, good cook. They've been complimenting you on your gifts. You have the ability to cut hair. You've never had been to a barber school at all. You're a hairstylist. You know what to do. You got creativity. You're good at building things with your hands. You're great in the garden. Whatever your gift is, listen, let me tell you, you belong. You have something to give. That kindness, I said, the wisdom, humor, leadership. Going back to my third grade teacher. My third grade teacher told me, 8 years old, she said to me I wasn't college material. In her eyes, I didn't belong. And I know this, I said before, this was during the civil rights movement. And, when integration first started, and I know I was that 8-year-old, third grade, that my grandparents thought it was a good idea to send me to the white school because they got newer books and I would probably get a better education. They did the best they could. And they sent me over there, crossing that line. And boy, did I get that was my first experience like that, and first experience with a white teacher. And she might have been a great person. But however, I know I was coming over there, and people don't like change. And when she said, when she was giving all the praise out to the other students while she was reading a story about a young man, and she was talking about, asking students, what are you going to be when you grow up? And students, my classmates, was saying, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be a baseball player. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a nurse, and I'm going to be a school teacher. And she was praising them. And one girl said, her name was Becky Talton. I'll never forget her name. She said, Miss Chadwick, I'm going to go to college. And she praised her. And I said, I was raising my hand. First and foremost, I was not sitting in the circle. I was behind the circle. Okay, it was a horseshoe, should I say? If you can visualize a horseshoe, and the teacher is sitting in the front there, and myself and another student, was only two African Americans, sitting in the back. We were not allowed to be in the horseshoe with them. We were sitting in the back of the horseshoe, and she finally called on me after about 5 minutes, and finally I stood up, because I thought, well, maybe she's not seeing me. And she said, sit down, Maurice, sit down. And so, I sat down, and she said, well, Maurice, what do you want to be? And the way she said it was like, what do you want to be? And I said, Miss Chadwick, I'm going to go to college too. Well, I was waiting for that cheer. I was waiting for that same love. I didn't get it. She said, that's a nice thought, Maurice, but you're not college material. So she didn't see my gift. She didn't see that I had something to give. She didn't see that my story mattered, because my story did not matter then. And so that day, the fact that, I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe I didn't get the same kind of love. But at the end of the day, every day I walk into the classroom and I teach. Yeah, I wasn't college material with 3 college degrees and now teach college. Come on. So my point is, what someone says about you, what they say that you don't belong. They don't know that you have something to give. They don't know that you bring a unique perspective. They don't know that your story matters. They may not want your story to matter. They may not want you to believe it. Now, I could have believed it. Unfortunately, my grandmother pulled me to the side afterwards and had to explain to me what she said, because most third graders, like their teachers, most third graders believe the teacher has their best interests at heart. But guess what? Everybody does not. And the words they speak over you, be careful of the words you allow people to speak over you. You have to walk in a new light of a new anointing, so to speak, okay? And I took that energy. Every teacher I had, especially every white teacher I had, because I had many Caucasian teachers, of course. But I always had this in mind. They don't believe I can make it. Now, not all of them were that way, but I was not taking any chances. I was going to take my own belief system, and I began to push and push and push because I knew I was destined for greatness. Didn't know where, didn't know what, but I knew I was going to push no matter what people said, no matter what they did. That was put in me, and plus my mother and grandmother and everybody else. Fortunately, I had them behind me, supporting me. Having a fantastic aunt who was an educator, and she told me, "Boy, you're a natural teacher. You can teach." I didn't know. I didn't know. I was a police officer at that time, but I was a dare officer. But she saw me, a video of me teaching, didn't know it was me. Oh, my aunt said, "Boy, you're a natural teacher." She didn't saw the video. So she pushed that into me. I was an adult when that happened. So you always got to be around those people, as I said, who are going to inspire you and push you to greatness unapologetically. And you may not understand it, but you learn to walk in that thing, walk in that gift, and don't take anybody's negativity into your spirit, into your ears, into your soul, and let that become your message. That's not what we do. And that part right there, you got to stand on it. Hey, we'll be right back. Going to take a quick break.
Your body is the most advanced operating system in the world. Every day, trillions of cells run millions of processes at once. Over time, it can start to slow down due to stress, poor sleep, diet, environmental stressors. It can feel overwhelming. Suddenly, you feel the lag. Brain fog, low energy, poor digestion, slower recovery. That's your system struggling to keep up. What if, instead, you could give yourself an edge to tackle what the day has in store? From the creators of the world's most powerful activation products comes Healthy Edge. Healthy Edge starts with Protandim NRF2 Synergizer. It reduces oxidative stress by up to 40% in 30 days by activating your natural cellular defense system to help your body make its own antioxidants that are 1,000,000 times more powerful than any you could ever take. The other half of Healthy Edge is P84. Using the right amount of whole food ingredients, probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, and digestive enzymes, P84 activates the master peptides in your gut that help regulate, repair, and restore balance, going beyond supplementation. On their own, each activator is powerful. Together, they help you feel unstoppable. NRF2 Synergizer is your defense. P84 is your offense. And when they work as one, you don't just keep up, you stay ahead of everything life throws your way. Want to level up your activation? Check out our other activator products and learn about sharing these life-changing products to start a healthy side business. Take back your day with Healthy Edge.
To learn more about Healthy Edge, simply go to mauricemcdonald.net. That's MauriceMcDonald.net. Again, mauricemcdonald.net to learn about the Healthy Edge and take back your day. We're back, guys. We're back here on the It's About You radio show here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. My name is Maurice McDonald. We're back. We just finished talking about my first segment here. We're talking about the topic today is You Belong. This series I've been doing, it's been inspiring to me to share this information because I know people need to hear this. I have to tell myself this, that I belong despite whatever happening. And to recap some things I already talked about, the first point when I said that you belong is that you exist for a reason. Secondly, I said your story matters. Thirdly, you bring a unique perspective. And we just finished up on you have something to give, whether kindness or whatever it is that can impact everybody's world. You've got something to give. And I've also been taking some stories from people around the world and from the Bible. And since I go back to the Bible here, I want you to think about David. Oh my goodness. Oh, David, overlooked by his own family, dismissed as too young, insignificant. David was chosen by God and later defeated Goliath, proving that he belonged. And God, defined him, as defined by God, not appearance. a little boy. Now here's a little boy going up against Goliath, grown men running from him. You see, David knew who he was and whose he was. So my question is to you, who do you say you are? Who is your leader? Who is the person you go to? Who is the divine, or who is your God that you go to when you struggle with something? You belong. You have something to give the whole world. You see, David had something to impact everybody. And we can't go by children. Let me speak to this to adults. Stop telling your children they too little. Stop telling your children they can't make it. Your child may be struggling in math. Stop saying you're dumb. As a former school counselor, I used to hear parents say things to kids. He ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer. Or I wasn't good in math, so I don't expect it. I mean, all the negativity. Stop bringing your garbage into your child. Speak, and don't allow others to speak over that. Though terrible 2 years old, terrible twos. Listen, he just bad. He just bad. Stop telling children they're bad. Their behavior may be inappropriate, but the child is good. Let me say that again, because somebody in the back needs to hear that part. The child is wonderful. The behavior is inappropriate. Separate the two and stop letting people dump that in there, speaking over that, because children hear it and they digest that and they become that. Many people are in prison today. They were imprisoned as children because what was spoken over them and over their life and negativity, what they were exposed to all their life and everybody was around them. And now they started doing things because you said it and nobody showed them real love. So our next point is, I want to make sure that you understand, is belonging is a human right, not a reward. You have a human right to belong because I said you were created from greatness from the very beginning, not a reward. You do not have to earn your worth. You deserve connection, acceptance, simply because you are human. And that's everybody. Because understand something. Everybody are not treated the same way. Society, communities, organizations, certain races, genders, sexual orientations, you want to label them, you don't understand. By the way, we always criticize stuff we don't know. Something we don't understand, we label it. Your belonging is a human right. Your gender has nothing to do with it. I'll be glad till we get to the point where we can stop saying, I don't know if it ever happened, but this is my mind, will be great when we can stop saying the first woman to do this, the first man to do this, the first person of color to do this. When we can stop using that first, because so many people were left out of society, left out of the mainstream. History changed and all those kinds of things. Your belonging is a human right to belong. And when we go back to talk about belonging again, it is important that you understand, even out in society right now, where you got to think about a young girl from Pakistan, years ago, Malayla Yousafzai. I believe I'm saying her name right. Last name is spelling is Yousafzia. Her education was denied as a young girl in Pakistan, and she was told she didn't belong in school. After surviving an assassination attempt, she began a global advocacy for girls' education and the youngest Nobel Prize winner. Come on. You see, you got all the people that are fighting, risking their life and everything else for what they believe because they belong, standing on principle, standing flat-footed, 10 toes down on principle because I belong. And there are people who sacrifice their lives, as I said, because they belong. And others will sit back and make excuses while others are making moves. You see, I say this all the time. You can't make moves and excuses at the same time. Pick one. Yes, making moves It's going to be painful. Others are not going to like it. Next month, we'll be talking about, Black History Month is rolling around. And you got to understand that making moves is what people did in the civil rights movement. Come on, the back of the bus, Rosa Parks. We all know the story. There are many other stories, before Rosa, and there's always history that's not being told. But understand something: the fact that you belong is a human right, not a reward, and we don't let anybody make us feel like we don't belong. Now, their job is to try to make you feel that way, but guess what? You're in control of your feelings. You are in control of your feelings. And stop being around saying, well, they're trying to make me feel. Stop saying that, because nobody makes you feel anything. You choose to feel that way. Somebody made me angry. No, you chose to get angry because of something they said, did, or something you thought they should have done. That's a choice you make. Choosing happiness is a choice too. All of those things are important. So you're, realizing that, as I said, belonging is a human right. A human right, not a reward. Also, next point, your presence impacts others more than you realize. You see, your presence impacts other people. You may not realize that, but even small actions, listening, encouraging someone, showing up for them, can change someone's day or their life. Words of encouragement. Again, we're talking about planting all these things, these seeds I'm talking about right here, planting them in the ground. Your impact, your words, your kind words help other people as well. Your energy being there, your presence can impact more than you realize. Being in the moment, for example, when somebody's going through grief, make sure that you just be in the moment with them. And there's a powerful saying that my therapist shared with me many years ago, and I cannot forget it. When he said, when grief is new, words are few. When grief is new, words are few. Don't start talking a lot when somebody's going through some grief. Be in the moment with them. Your presence. That is important. And I say this because recently a student was I heard a loud noise down the hall here at the college, and there was screaming. Somebody was crying, and it wasn't my student, but all the instructors, we came out, we heard the noise and went down the hall, and there was one instructor sitting there consoling a student who just found out that her mother had just passed away. So if you have not been in that moment, you can imagine you just heard it and you just saw your mom 2 days ago. And mom lives in another city, and this student is at a college away from home. And so she was just distraught in tears, and my world is gone. And I mean, a real cry. And so there were 8 professors there. We're standing there, and they were talking to her, and she started talking about school. I got to get school. Who's going to help me? I got to do. And she was talking about classes going to start next week. And we were getting her in the moment to don't think about the school. Let's be there. And I got to go check on my brother, my little brother, and everything. And she was just in her feelings in that moment. Being present. I didn't know her, but I was so proud of the other professors whose their background was not counseling. We had other fields of study, but they let her cry. They were talking. Someone went got a box of tissue, and they sat it down beside her, and she reached for it herself, and she began to continue to cry even more. And the idea was, she was talking about how she's got to drive to a certain city, whatever. And I just said to her, hey, listen, if you want me to drive you, if you need to go, I will take you. And it's about 3 hours away. And I said, we're here. We're here to help you, whatever we can do. But right now, we're here for you. So we sat down on the floor right there beside her. and be in the moment. And I was so proud that none of the other professors said, I know how you feel, because you don't know how that feels. Even if you've been through it, you never say. So my point to you is, I want to say, if you come across someone like this, when grief is new, words are few. Be supportive. Be right there in the moment with somebody who goes through that. And that part is important, because your presence impacts people more than you realize in so many other ways. You have a gift to give. And my next point is, growth requires belonging. If you're going to grow, you got to realize that I belong. You are allowed to learn, to make mistakes, and evolve. Belonging does not require perfection. Oh, please hear what I said. Belonging does not require perfection. We are not looking for perfection. There are people, they treat their mistakes as sins. They made a mistake or whatever it is, they're not perfect. And by the way, parents, stop asking for perfection from your children, because you're not perfect. Let them talk about what you did way back in the day, okay? When there weren't no cameras around. So the idea that you belong does not require perfection. And going back also, from a biblical standpoint, listen, perfection is not what it takes. You think about the woman with the issue of blood. Okay, you think about the woman, the Samaritan woman. All through how you reveal a person's worth, made through helps, the genders, the personal histories people go through. It's not perfect. As I said before, Moses was not perfect. Hello, and yet he was used. So my point is, stop trying to be perfect, and just know that you're going to grow. You have to grow. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. That's what I love when I see my students who come here, non-traditional students, they're past 40 years old. They got life experience. They got issues. They've been incarcerated. They've been, they have a jagged past. They have a story that most people wouldn't like. But I always say, well, that's where you were before. But let's talk about where you are right now and where we're headed. Because, see, your story, your mess is going to be your message. You're going to reach people that I can't reach. And that's the idea of reaching out, knowing that you belong, and that your growth is going to be so amazing, and that you're going to be able to help so many people. And you're going to learn from your mistakes and evolve. There's so many people that have to learn from their mistakes that they have made. And that is something that is so important to understand, that people who have been in prison before. I think about people, they see a convicted felon about certain things. Hey, there have been so many people. Dr. King was arrested, fighting for good causes, has been doing things great. But the idea of it is, can you learn from your mistakes and be able to go help others? And they can learn from your past, and they can become great simply because your story impacted them. Your story was a roadmap for them. Your story sounds like their story. And now they're saying, ooh, if you can make it, then I can. Which means your story can be used to motivate people. So that's why you got to belong. You got to see yourself as a person that belongs where you are. Can you imagine if everybody was a straight A student, and somebody who made D's and F's in school, and the straight A student says, you can never make it. But then there was somebody who used to make D's and F's in school because they didn't apply themselves, or they discovered they had a learning disability, and now they're an A/B student. That's motivation for people who were F and D students, because I now see somebody who did overcome, somebody who was an alcoholic, someone who's been struggling with alcohol, and now they're doing what they got to do, or somebody who's been incarcerated, someone who's a teenage mom, 3 children. And there's another powerful Powerful book. I would love for you all to read it. That we require our students to read this book, and you can get it very simply. It's called Cupcake Brown. Oh my gosh, Cupcake Brown. Her mom named the Cupcake Brown. And if you read that story, read that book, you won't be able to put it down. Her story to becoming, at 12 years old, becoming a drug addict, becoming a prostitute. She was abused, incarcerated so many different times and addicted to crack cocaine. And you can imagine that story. Hers started at childhood with issues with mom. I'm not going to tell you the whole book. Please read the book. But let me go ahead and tell you this. How about the fact that not only did she turn things around, she changed her life around, ladies and gentlemen. Went back to school, became an educator, and also became an attorney. She's now an attorney, proud to be retired soon, and one of the largest law firms in California, and graduated magna cum laude from San Diego State University, ladies and gentlemen. Her story, Cupcake Brown. You see, this is why I'm letting you know you belong. You need to read stories like this of people who've overcome the worst of the worst. Because, you hear the word crack addict and prostitute, and you hear drugs and violence. You don't think attorney. I want you to think about all the social workers that may have given up on her. And maybe some did not. Think about all the police officers that arrested her and called their names. Think about all the mistreatment, the family members. Yeah, she ain't no good. Think about the molested, the fact that she was molested as a child, the trauma that went through that. But people forgot about that. You see, some people, they don't know your story, but they see your glory. See, some people don't know your struggle, but they don't know your past. They don't know what you've been through. That every day you woke up and you pushed another foot, you put one foot in front of the other to make it through, and you made it anyhow with the help of God and some powerful support. But while others were blaming, others were over there helping and assisting you. You see, this is what's needed to help people realize that they belong. And I know sometimes in my profession that we're called, the social work and counseling field, that, we're called do-gooders. Well, absolutely. I wear that with a badge of honor, and I educate people to do those kinds of things. And my job, I've been a public servant for 4 decades of being a public servant, helping the less fortunate, helping people when they were down. So I believe my steps have been ordered. So when I see people who've been through the struggle and they still survive and they keep making it, that's because, number one, they exist for a reason. Number two, their story matters. Number three, they bring a unique perspective. They have something to give. They belong because they're human. And then the idea that their presence impacts others more than they realize. They realize, think about this, somebody belongs because somebody that's a recovering addict can talk to other people who've been down that road. Somebody who's relapsed 4, 5, 6 times. Now, those of you who've never been an addict, you don't understand the process. If you're not educated in the field, it sounds so easy. Oh, just don't drink. Just pray about it. Get in the prayer line, put some oil on him, and don't drink no more. That's all he got to do. Well, listen, that sounds good, but in theory, that does not work all the time. There's some more work that needs to be done. But somebody who's been down that road and not on that road currently can help somebody who has been on that road, if that makes sense. That is important to understand. So with that said, you got to realize that everybody matters, and the fact that they're in a position to help somebody else through that process. My next point is you reflect strength through survival. You reflect strength through survival. The challenge you face and endure are evidence that resilience is not weakness. See, resiliency, oh my gosh. As a matter of fact, children are so resilient. The people who've been through all the things, when I was talking to you about Cupcake Brown, listen to me, that could have taken the average person out, taken her out. But that resiliency, that ability to bounce back, reflects strength through survival. You see people who've been through, think about the homeless people who are no longer homeless. There was a powerful movie years ago. It's a true story. It's called Homeless to Harvard. That's another great movie video that you need to watch. Homeless to Harvard. Somebody who was homeless and mother was a crack addict. Mom died. Dad was on drugs. Everything else happening. Ended up going to Harvard University. Difficult childhood. Not changing her underwear for like a week. Just the story is there. Eating out of the trash can. But brilliant student. Going to Harvard University. Sometimes you got to hear somebody else's story to encourage you. Be encouraged by somebody else's story. But the fact that what you've been through, your strength is shown through your survival, and you're able to make it through that. Also, there are spaces for who you are becoming. That's my next point. There are spaces shaped for who you're becoming. You may not fit everywhere, and that's okay. There are environments where your authenticity is needed. Your authenticity is needed. The spaces are for you, not for other people to fit in. You cannot walk in somebody else's shoes that were not meant for you to wear. And you got to understand that it is okay, because there are spaces, and you can't look. Like I said, and when I first kicked this off a couple weeks ago, I said there are spaces only made for you to make it through. You can't make it through. It was not made for you to go through that process. It was meant for you to make it through. And there's so many people who've done the very same thing, didn't fit in. I want you to imagine the man by the name of Nick Vujicic, Vujicic. He wrote a book called Without Limbs. Can you imagine being born without arms and legs? Nick was bullied through school, told he could not live independently. He became an international motivational speaker, author, advocate, beyond his limitation, his physical limitations. You can find him too on YouTube. Look up his book, Living Without Limbs. This guy, you would think, he shouldn't make it. They wanted to give up on him as a child, born that way. But his mind is solid. And now he commands millions to go speak in the things he's done. He's climbed mountains. Listen, overcoming, no arms, no legs, those kind of things that he's been doing, and becoming an international motivational speaker, author, advocate. And the fact that his story is going to lift somebody else up, to inspire somebody else. There's so many people out here, and story after story after story. That's why sometimes if you are a leader, you need to be a reader. Because if you don't read, you can't lead properly. And because you need to hear somebody else's story of what they've been through, how they've overcome, the process of overcoming, the struggle they went through, and realizing that they belong just like you belong, just like your family member belong. Stop being that family member criticizing somebody else because they changed careers 4 or 5 times. They're still in the process of discovering who they are. Teenagers, they go to college. This is one thing, I'm an advocate for community college, because so many people go spend $300,000-$400,000 getting a 4-year degree, and then junior year they change their mind. They want to major in something else. They're 6 years in school, and it's okay. People are changing their mind through the process, and so it is important not to just label them and criticize them and do those kinds of things. Know that they belong and they have a purpose, and they're in the process of trying to discover their purpose. And that is impactful and very, very powerful for you to understand and not always judge them. With that said, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back. Did you know all disease begins in the gut? That's right. All disease begins right in your gut. You've got trillions of bacteria that influence your immune system, your energy, your emotional well-being. The good news is Whether you're 8 or 85 years old, you have a gut and you need P84 in your system. P84 is 84 fruits and vegetables organically grown all over the world designed to restore your gut. Probiotics, prebiotics, and postbiotics, all organically designed to help your gut thrive the way it's supposed to. Simply go to mauricemcdonald.net. mauricemcdonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net, and learn more about the living well, eating smart, and feeling better with P84 in your system, all organically grown. Once again, go to mauricemcdonald.net and learn all about your gut microbiome. We're back. We're back here on the It's About You radio show here on WDRB Media, Voice of the Community. I'm Maurice McDonald, and today we've been talking about You Belong, the series I've been endeavoring to do a great job sharing this information to you, and with you. Hopefully, you're engaged with what I'm saying. I hope it's adding value to you. And we've been talking about the different reasons why you belong, and sharing the information I've shared with you. The first one I said was that you exist for a reason. And secondly, I said your story matters. Thirdly, you bring a unique perspective. Fourthly, you have something to give. Then I said, fifth, belonging is a human right, not a reward. And your presence impacts others more than you realize. And growth requires belonging. To grow, you must learn to belong. And then eighth, I said, you reflect strength through survival. Through survival, overcoming the obstacles, overcoming the hate, overcoming all the negativity. And then also, I just said that there are spaces shaped for who you are becoming. You can't bring somebody into that space because it's just enough for you. That's shaped just for you to become. And now, 10thly, I want to talk about connection begins with self-acceptance. When you honor who you are, you make room for genuine relationships built on truth, not performance. When you honor who you are, you make room for genuine relationship. You see, you need to develop relationship with people. The connection, networking. I am a firm believer in networking. You must network with the right people. Ladies and gentlemen, don't underestimate the power of networking. You may be on a job you hate. You're not going to be there forever. It's a temporary season. But on that job, you may meet somebody that leads you to your next destiny, or the person they know. Get into their network and stop being. You got to be positive in a negative environment. Ooh, somebody need to hear that today. You better be positive in that negative environment because somebody's watching you. You're this there. The Creator's got you there just for a season. But you be positive in the midst of the negativity because you're going to be elevated somewhere else because your connection begins with self-acceptance. And my 11th point is you are worthy of being seen and heard. You are worthy of being seen and heard. Your voice, your feelings, your experiences deserve acknowledgement and respect. That part. You are there for the reason. You're worthy of being seen and heard because your voice, your experiences deserve acknowledgement and respect. I repeated that again so you can hear that. Then I want to talk about belonging starts with you. My last point, belonging starts with you, starts within you. It starts within you. You believe you belong. You carry that confidence in every room, every relationship, every opportunity. That is important. It starts within you to know that you belong in that environment. See, sometimes you need to go there and change the environment. That's why they say, a friend of mine is a Marine. He was just talking about when they talk about complaining, they said, don't complain, get promoted. He said, don't complain, get promoted. Then you can do something about the culture. So I'm telling you right now, you get promoted and you can change culture. Promotion may not be on that job. Promotion may be in other realms of your life. But if you want to change some things, get promoted and then you can change some culture that's in that area. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this series has been good to you. I think this may be the last one, but I'm not sure. I'm learning not to say this is the last one, but this is one that I've thoroughly been enjoying this series about belonging, because so many people get in situations where they don't belong and they make excuses. What I want you to do now, make sure to follow me on Instagram, Maurice McDonald 51. Also, go to my YouTube channel. It's About You Radio. Go there on YouTube. It's About You Radio channel. Follow me there and learn all about your amazing gut microbiome. We're going to be back next week, ladies and gentlemen, with another fantastic show on the It's About You Radio show here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll be back next week because we're going to be in the building.